I'm going to go ahead and call to order the regular meeting of the Finance Committee Tuesday, November 17, 2020, 2 p.m. Gallery Room, Chatham Community Center. Roll call, please.
All right, Dr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Present.
Mr. Ingram?
Present.
Mr. Scarrett?
Carry. All right, let's go back. Are there any items to be added to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to move item 8A, 1, to new business is item 6G.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a second. I guess we need a roll call that.
We're going to do that on the software.
Oh, yeah. I forget we're on this.
That's okay.
All right, go ahead and ask your questions. All right, just ask what we'll do. We have a motion to approve you would do the rules.
Make that motion to approve the new agenda. Second.
Please cast your votes. Motion passed 4-1. Okay, we're at item 4, presentations. Kimber.
I'm going to start off this afternoon by just giving you a brief update of where we are with CRS funds. And the attached graph that you have or will place in your board packet will show where those dollars currently are being allocated to of our $10.6 million. So as you can see, the bulk of that is public safety, and that's not just fire and rescue, that is law enforcement, anything that's under the umbrella of public safety. Technology is also at $325. Our public safety, of course, is the largest at $6 million. Education is 2.7, which they were mostly for those Chromebooks that we ordered. Infrastructure and services, you'll see, is at 551, and our personnel is at 182. And towns, that is what we allocated to our 3 towns. And I will say that for the most part, all of our towns have at least encumbered all of their money. I think Hurt had a little bit that they had not spent, but they did a very good job of getting with us and getting that money spent in places that we thought would benefit the towns the greatest. But I can certainly answer any questions that you have about our coronavirus funds. We do have a deadline of December 1 for everyone to kind of notify us and let us know where are you in the process. Because we want to make absolutely sure that we don't send any of this money back, that we have appropriately spent the money on things that are okayed by the CRS documentation that we've received. I know that I've touched base many times with our auditor, and he has given us some guidelines, but every time he sends me something, he will let me know very quickly that they have not received audit guidelines as of yet for this money. So what he tells me could change. So I want you all to know that, because as far as we're concerned, and we being the CRS committee that met to make these decisions, and we had such a full vetting system that our auditor thought that the way we handled that was very good. And so he basically said that the process by which we went through, which was CRS committee first, executive team met weekly to go over what CRS had decided on, and also anything over the $100,000 threshold came to our board of supervisors for approval. In addition to that, you all got a full list of all of our applications and how that money had been spent. And so he said it would be much harder because of that for them to say, no, we don't agree with your assessment of that, because you did go through such a stringent vetting process. So we are hopeful that we won't have to send any of this money back. We will do our very best to make sure of that. We will give you more updated information as it comes to us, as we know when projects are closing and if there's money left over or that kind of thing. what we're seeing now, for the most part, things are running right on schedule. Most of the things we thought would be done by December 30 will be done by December 30. We do have some things that I've heard of late that have been ordered that were promised by December 30 that may be January before we get. And we have also got guidance that if it was moved, that deadline, because of something that the company did, not of our own fault, we ordered it under the premise that we were going to get it December 30. That is of no fault of ours, so we should be able to still utilize those funds for that. We will have till March 31st to make payments for anything that we've bought and cannot pay for. We do have till the end of March to spend that money. So I'm sure it will be a very demanding audit schedule when, you know, these things are looked at. But I can answer any questions. I may not have answers for you today, but like I said, we have given everybody that has gotten this money till December 1st to let us know. So we're staying on top of it.
Any questions, comments from committee members? Rest of the board? You know, this is a little off track. Has the county gotten any direction from the state on what's going to happen with this year's budget? The last thing I heard, we were $2 billion short in tax revenues, and I'm just wondering if they've given you any idea what they're going to do with this year's budget or possibly next year's budget.
No, but I have heard from, actually, I was talking to our auditor yesterday, and he said that he felt like that localities really wouldn't feel the sting of what's happening now at the state level until probably FY22. That's when we're going to really feel it on our end. And how we would feel it is, and we've been through this before, I'm sure Mike can attest to it and others can attest to it, how they'll cut our state money, our state funding, and we'll have to come up with some other resource to either fund positions or cut positions. And I've been here 22 years, and I will say we've never cut a position. We've always found the money to try to cover that. But it becomes harder and harder because we only have so many resources we can use in order to gather revenue. So.
Other questions? We'll move on to the next agenda item. That's PEOC Meeting Facility and Elections Training Center presentation. Dave Morris.
This is Jeffrey Bond. He works with Solex Architects and has been managing several of our projects with Nick Morris. And today he's going to give you an update on 3 specific projects. The depot building, which has just recently been named the Pittsylvania County Elections and Training Center. The auditorium that will be your meeting room beginning most likely in January, and the HURT EMS station on Highway Overlook Drive, I think it's called. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spiderman. My name is Jeff Bond. As I mentioned, I'm with Solex Architecture. Appreciate everybody's time this afternoon to give a brief update. I know you have a lot of things on the agenda, so we'll try to keep it brief. If you do have any questions, please feel free to stop me and be glad to answer those. We'd like to take a second to thank the county and the county administration for entrusting us with getting these projects under contract and overseeing them. It's always a great honor and privilege to work in your home county. So with that, I'll kind of start off with Depot Street. As I think you can see in front of you, we have a color-coded floor plan. The dark red or maroon areas will be the early voting. This will be accessed right off of the renovated lobby. So where people come and do their early voting. The other main space in this facility is in the rear. It's kind of the goldish or dark yellow color. That's the training room. We'll talk a little bit more about that here in a second. The other spaces that make up this facility are on the lower left. There are some offices and workspaces. And then the rest of it is for storage, for the voting machines, for the ballots and some of the records that not only the registrar but other kind of departments will store in this facility. On this screen, you kind of see a before, during, and after. So these are 3 images of the lobby. On the upper left is before. This was prior to any renovations. The middle picture in the bottom is during construction. It's kind of where it's at now. They're in the process of roughing in electrical and data. They've opened up some new windows and getting ready for insulation and drywall. On the upper right is a picture of what we're proposing that the lobby look like. On the right side of that image, and kind of middle left, you'll see two windows. These will be transaction windows where people can come in and pay and make their transactions and still keep some barrier between the public and the staff. These three images are of the training room. In the back of the building, the back left corner, there were multiple offices and a conference room that have been removed, and a new training room will be created in this space. The middle image shows those rooms no longer there. And then on the right, what the training room will be proposed to look like. So I think there's seating for about 30 plus presenters, several large TVs, and upgraded audiovisual equipment. I guess before we're getting into the schedule, some of the other upgrades that we're making are some touch-free or sensor-type sinks and toilets. Trying to improve the overall cleanliness of the bathrooms and the way people that enter the space. And with all the COVID considerations, we're trying to use those funds to make the facility cleaner and safer. So this is a schedule from the contractor, Black Construction. As I mentioned, they're kind of in the rough end stage, getting ready for drywall. I think the main thing here is, with this slide, is that the substantial completion is scheduled for December 28th. So all major items should be completed by the end of the year, with hopes that only touch-up painting and some other minor things will happen after the first. The next project is the ECC Auditorium. There's several components to this one. The largest space is the auditorium. With that room, the first 6 rows have been removed, which will make way for some portable or stackable chairs that can be spread out to accommodate social distancing. Right now, they have set up scaffolding in the entire room, looking to repair the ceilings. The lighting will be retrofitted with LED fixtures and other cosmetic upgrades such as painting, hardwood floors, and carpeting. To make this facility a little bit more secure, on the upper left, there's a new secure storefront vestibule. This will serve as a kind of a checkpoint or check-in area, if you will, where people can do temperature screenings and a security checkpoint before they are allowed into the auditorium. A second secure storefront door is added on the bottom. You can see that over on the bottom right. That's to kind of lock down the back half of the facility, if you will, just to prevent people from leaving the auditorium and meandering through the facility. As part of this upgrade, in the gold area over there on the left side, a new handicap restroom will be provided. The existing restrooms are currently not up to ADA standards, so a new unisex handicap facility will be added. Then once all the construction work gets done, there will be furniture upgrades. A portable stage will be up front with tables and chairs for the board, as well as new audio-visual equipment. These next images are before, during, and after. So over on the left, you'll see a before picture with all of the fixed seats in place. The middle picture is kind of where it is now, minus the new scaffolding. So you can see that the first 6 rows have been removed. And then over on the right, you can see the portable stage with board tables and an area left up front for stackable chairs. This one, again, is in the middle of construction, just setting up the scaffolding, getting ready to work on the ceilings and plaster, start some of the cosmetic repairs. The main thing with this slide is again that all of the major construction items will be complete by the end of the year. Some minor painting and other touch-up items could roll over after the first. Then lastly is a HERT EMS facility. So this facility is broken up into kind of two halves. The left half is the vehicle bay, which will store the ambulances, possibly future trucks or fire trucks. And then over on the right is office area and sleeping quarters. So there's one office up in the front right, and then in the back right, it's combined living kitchen space. And then in the middle of the right side, there are sleeping areas and bathrooms with showers and toilets. This slide shows proposed exterior, trying to keep it economical but functional at the same time. So looking at metal siding, metal roof with large coiling metal doors. And the last slide here is the schedule for the HERT EMS project. As of Friday, the civil or site package has been sent to the county to begin the review and permitting process for breaking ground. Nick Morris and myself met with the contractor yesterday to begin the pricing process. Hopes to get the pricing back in about 3 weeks. With the intent of mobilizing sometime mid-December, really trying to break ground before the end of the year, weather permitting. And then substantial and final completion is somewhere around the June timeframe. That kind of wraps up my presentation. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you all may have.
Any questions from committee members, comments, or other board members?
Mr. Chairman, I got a comment. I really love that, Mr. Bond. Doing a good job. And for those who don't know this is Born, Rain, and Sun. So he carries on her legacy. Really good job. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
And this is probably a question more for Mr. Smith than I can. The HERT facility, I noticed that the completion date is actually mid-June. Is that going to qualify to be able to use our total funds? Because I thought that was the intent, was to use total funds to pay for this.
Yeah, it is going to take some budget adjustments to make it happen, but all the COVID funds will be obligated by December 30th. We will do some budget amendments after the first of the year to assign other capital funds to this project to be completed. The net impact to the county's budget is net neutral.
Mr. Chairman. Jim, can you back up to the plan for the HERT? I know you don't have a site plan, so do we have pavement out front?
We do. So the parking lot has about 10 spaces. There'll be a 6-foot apron coming out of the garage, and then the rest of it is going to be the asphalt.
Can you go to the auditorium plan view?
Sure.
Right. Mr. Spindler, what is thoughts for closed session?
Good question. If those three and then, so the bottom right box is an office. Yeah, there it is. That is suitable for closed session. We scoped that out early, and we can get to it from the stage exit. So we'll exit through the rear to get there, and that's protected room.
That's behind that secure door that we're adding in the hallway.
Gotcha.
Since we brought up that secure door, initially, I hate to do this, but it's probably the only most efficient way, but originally, and this was probably before we brought it on, we talked about this door being right here to protect all these other offices. Was there a reason we moved it back here?
I don't recall that discussion.
Yeah, I think it was before we even engaged you, sir, very first.
If we want to move it down, it's a good time.
Well, the purpose for that door being moved forward is that's the main entry out of the building. Where those steps are, just prior to that second vestibule. So in order to have a secondary emergency exit, we had to move that other secure door down the hallway. So that way, if you have to empty the auditorium for whatever reason, folks go out one side, they go out the other side, and we're not stuck behind the secondary door that we created.
Thank you.
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, let's move on. We've got Tunstall Fire Apparatus CIP funds release. Chris Lynn.
Good evening, everyone. First order of business I have is for Tunstall. They are in the current budget for capital for fire apparatus CIP. They have made a formal request for the money. They have also signed the CIP agreement, which we put in place this past year. They submitted the proper documents. They have already purchased this truck. It is a pumper tanker that they got. It does meet what little standards we put in place a little over a year ago with the Fire and Rescue Association. Some things we want to have on apparatus and so forth, and size of pump and the amount of water and so forth to carry. So I reviewed it. I think we're good to go with the funding, so going ahead and releasing that money to them. They have not had apparatus money since 1999. They've had apparatus money only one time, and I think it was 2005. It's been many, many years, and they would be right after rotation. So I support what they're trying to do here and support the request.
Any questions from committee members? Other board members, any comments?
Well, Mr. Chairman, they actually haven't gotten any fire truck money since 2002.
Oh,
2002.
I certainly can support this and Chris's endorsement. However, one thing I want to bring to light, maybe for my own education, the fire commission, and you now have adopted the policy and procedures that going forward, not about this item because this was prior, but going forward, they will have to provide their specs in advance of any funding, not post-purchase.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Because this truck's already been purchased and then it's coming back for money.
Correct.
Okay. Just want to make sure we're not doing that going forward.
No, they should be in the future giving us specs, copies of any bids and or contracts if they purchase, especially like off HGAC or something like that. They should provide us all that. They should meet any minimum apparatus specs that we as a county say need to happen. And they do meet those type of things.
And my understanding is the intent is not to do anything but have uniformity and consistency across the county.
As much as possible, yes, sir.
Any other comments? I'll entertain a motion.
Chairman, I'll make that.
Yes, sir. I'd like to
Make
make
that
a
motion.
Second.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion from Ms. Ingram and a second by Dr. Miller. Please vote when it becomes available. All right, we approve 4-4. Next item is, hold on. Getting there. CIP training funds released. Mr. Sutton, please.
Thank you, sir.
Proceed.
We have slowly been starting to build up a capital fund for large training items and props and so forth. As you know, COVID kind of put a dent in our training. We started last year with our first fire academy, and I was really excited because it was packed. And then COVID kind of put a halt on that. We're finishing that. We started doing some training again. This governor's latest mandate, I've got to review that and see how it's going to impact us. But we're filling classes again, which I'm super excited about. I sat in one couple weeks ago, and we had a full house, and it was just, we're going to offer that same class on the north end here in a couple months. But we would like to purchase, of the 30,000 we have set aside, we'd like to use 14,000 of that to purchase a trailer and equipment for specialized rope training and actually other technical rescue type things. We do a confined space class, we do a swiftwater class, anything specialized that you're using rope anymore. So we wanted to purchase a trailer and then all the equipment to go with it, so we can haul to different locations in that trailer. And we have, like I said, we have 30,000 set in CIP now, we'd like to use 14.
Comments from the committee and some questions? Other board members? All right, I'll entertain a motion on this.
So moved.
Such a motion by Dr. Miller, a second by Mr. Miller. Please vote, come to there. Motion passed 4-4. Let's move on to Harris Radio maintenance contract. Chris, you're up again.
So in 2014, the county signed a maintenance agreement with Harris Radio Systems, who handles our current system. At that time, our radios had a 3-year warranty, so the warranty would expire in 2017. However, there were issues with the system, there were some issues with the radios, so Mr. Davis was able, while he was here, to get Harris to continue that warranty and push it on out. I got notified this summer by Harris that, hey, the warranty actually is going to expire at the end of July, and you'll need to start paying your maintenance contract in August. Which I told them, I appreciate it if they had told me that 6 months prior, so I could have budgeted for it. The sheriff and I both had a conference call with them, attempting to get them to reduce the amount of the contract, see if we could do that. They did agree to hold off on making us pay anything until January, while they went back and looked to see if they could reduce the cost. I got notified back in October they would not be able to reduce what we had agreed to back in 2014. So we have a contract starting that every August will renew until 2021, or excuse me, it goes 12 years out. So this year's total is $295,788, which we can pay monthly. So we need to start doing that in January. I've talked with Mr. Smitherman, that's probably going to have to come from the contingency fund. It's something I don't have a choice, but we're going to have to do because of the contract.
Questions from committee members?
Mr. Chairman, I thought we were told that about the 30th of December, we were supposed to have all these transmitters and all this stuff on the towers. Is that correct?
That's the life-saving.
Yeah, that's good.
That's a different Harris contract. That's the
Okay.
one we're going to talk about.
Yeah, well, that's the one I wanted to address because I got some issues with that. Okay, sorry, the name threw me.
I have a question. I don't deal in these radios, so I'm gonna yield a little to you and the sheriff. But a maintenance contract for $295,000 seems extremely excessive. I'd like to challenge the county to, between now and the next review of the time, look at other options and see if there are any out there. I mean, that's a big number. Big number that deserves much closer attention than I feel like you all had time to give it this year. Not saying we need to change anything, I'm just saying we need to be good stewards and, I feel like we're in a compromising spot right now. I don't want to be in this spot next year this time.
Yeah, this was a hard pill to swallow, and we actually did talk about what are other options to pursue in this. So we'll accept that challenge and try to bring you something back by spring, maybe alternative means of maintaining the system. And if you really get down to it, which I'm not saying this is a viable option, you can hire a staff of people to maintain the system for $300,000. So we accept that challenge.
sorry, Mr. Ingram first, that's first.
I had similar concerns like Mr. Warren, so I did due diligence. I called the sheriff and got him to give me an update on the Harris system. As I told him up front, I was a Motorola person, but he was very enlightening. So I would suggest to my fellow board members to lean on the sheriff. He can give you some good suggestions and answers. But I also agree that it sure would be nice to cut that 295 down.
Totally agree with you.
And how long is that for now?
Well, it goes up every August.
To 2026, is that right?
No,
No, it's 12 years.
12 years from now.
12 years.
So that was my question. This is not a 12, we pay it once and we walk away for 12 years. This is annual,
Yes, sir, and it goes up.
and we've been getting by, I guess, without paying it.
Well, it's when we had a warranty, like I say, we got in,
I think we had a 5-year warranty, is that right?
well, it was 3 originally.
Well, Jim pushed it out.
Jim was able to get them to
Got it.
push it out, and push it out. So,
Yeah.
Finally, concerned, have you been documenting all the issues? I know they do software upgrades and nights, we're not
We do.
doing one system out. I hope you're documenting every problem we're having.
We do.
They should not have that, they should be able to do a bench test before they even put it out on their network. And I don't understand how they're proceeding with some of the maintenance procedures, but
we had an issue with, when we added the 2 towers, Tunstall and Mayfield Tower, and we had a problem with that, and myself and Mr. Pitts insisted that they perform everything in the lab before we got them like go live back on our system. And when they did go live, put it in, we made them come at 2 o'clock in the morning when our call volume was released, and we wouldn't let them come during the day. So we want to make sure, we had no issues with it. So.
well, make sure you have that proper documentation. That should go a long ways on the negotiation. All right, I assume, I'm sorry, Mr. Warren.
I hadn't been able to read through this completely, baby, but it's no problem, let's get out of this contract prior to next June, July, August, correct?
There's a notice provision, and I don't have it in front of me, but we should be able to have some flexibility in that.
Any other comments or questions? Entertain a motion?
I make that motion.
You have a motion? Give it a second. Motion by Mr. Davis, second by Dr. Miller. If you can, please cast your vote. It was approved as 4-4. I'll get there. What's next on this? I guess next is the Harris radio maintenance contract, is that correct?
Yeah, it's
Some more deputy bonus.
the sworn deputy bonus, 6D.
Thought I was going forward, I guess I was going backwards.
We received notification from the compensation board this last week that there was legislation passed by the governor's office to give a $500 one-time bonus to all sworn deputies. And that's for all compensation board sworn deputies. So, of course, I brought it to Mr. Smithman's attention, and the way this works is the comp board will give this money, and if you read the attached letter, it basically says that money will only come to the locality if it is given to those deputies. It cannot be offset with any other funding, like if we're given local funding and we say, well, we've already given something, this has to be in addition to that in order for these, this money to come to the county. So as such, in order for all of our sworn deputies to get this one-time bonus, it will cost us approximately $13,457, well, that's pretty exact. But I've counted the number of county sworn deputies, and we want all of them to be treated the same, because nobody should know where their funding comes from. And so, this is effective December 1, and so that's why it's being brought to you today, because this will be, those paychecks, effective December the 15th, if you all, choose to do that. So I'm bringing it to you all today for consideration of, this bonus for those guys and girls.
Stanley? I think this is a great idea, but why do we have to put up 13,000 plus?
Because we have county-only positions. We have county-only positions, and they are also sworn deputies. So it's only the sworn deputies. This did not apply to any other constitutional officers or to staff, support staff. So it can only be for those particular officers. So in order for everybody to receive that bonus, we will have to come up with $13,000.
And that number's 20, how many?
I think it was 28 once.
28
28.
non-comp board sworn officers.
Correct.
100% county fund.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I agree with that. Our law enforcement's doing a great job. They're doing a great job. And I'm for the $500 period. But was the sworn law officers only.
Any other comments? Warren?
I mean, that really, we're gonna say one, but, I wholeheartedly support our sworn officers. I think they've done a great job. They've had unusual circumstances, as everybody has during this time, living through it, so I certainly, once it gets to the board, will support this.
And those funds are in unused salary money that we already have, that we have over in non-department. So it should not pose a burden to us financially to come up with that.
And they've been our frontline people.
Oh, yeah. Well, I fully agree. If there's no other comments, I'll entertain a motion on that.
Yes, sir. I'd like to make
Ms. King, and second by Dr. Moses. Please vote when you can. Let's move on to, S. No, it's not S. More solid waste, investment for the state company.
Got a couple extra graphics to show you to go along with our request. We have a request for some capital investment for some landfill equipment at our landfill. As outlined in the agenda, we currently process our solid waste with two pieces of equipment. 2015 D6 dozer with 7,400 hours and a 2013 826 compactor with 13,500 hours. We have no backup equipment. With our recent contract with base trash removal and the first Piedmont contract that starts on January the 1st of next year, the landfill will be doubling the amounts of solid waste it accepts and processes. There's potential for other contracts on the horizon as well. Based on this expected load in consultation with our engineer consultant, Bruce Joyce, and who's here with us from Labella, and our equipment dealer, we request the purchase of a reconditioned D7R dozer and an 836 compactor. This equipment will enable us to continue to obtain the desired compaction rates, which will prolong the life of the landfill. As Mr. Joyce explained to me earlier, our asset is our airspace. It's permitted for us to put garbage in. So the more we can put in that airspace, the longer that life and the more valuable that airspace is to us. The D7 dozer, we're looking at a reconditioned unit. Basically, they start with a core, and Caterpillar, the certified dealer, puts it all back together according to Caterpillar specifications. So it carries a similar warranty as a new piece of equipment. But you see from the graphic there, a rebuilt machine is just under $600,000, and a new one is about $750,000. The 836 compactor, the rebuilt or reconditioned cost is $727,000, and a new cost is just shy of $1 million. And you can see what, so the dozer itself spreads the trash, the compactor comes behind it and compacts the trash. Our current equipment is outlined earlier is a 826 compactor with 13,500 hours. And I understand from Ronald Shields, who's our landfill foreman, he's also here if you have any questions. When he gets around 15,000 hours, that's getting close to what we want to look at in replacement. The 2015 D6 dozer, while it has been performing well for us, that's mainly a slope machine used for once we do fill trash and go back and address the slopes and seed them and everything. That's really what that's for. It's not as heavy of equipment to use for on the landfill itself. We have a 2012 track hoe. We have a front end loader that's about 25 years old, and we have a 1999 pan. We used to have 2 dozers and we used to have 2 compactors, so now we don't have any kind of backup equipment. So if we start receiving all this additional trash, and we do have a breakdown, it puts us at a pretty much a standstill until we can get the equipment repaired. I looked at some potential financing through Caterpillar Company, but I haven't really discussed that with Kim, but they do offer some very attractive rates through the Caterpillar dealer. That's something that we would like to do. So as I mentioned, Mr. Joyce with Lavelle is here, and Ronald Shields, our landfill foreman, is here, so if any questions, we'll be happy to take them.
Just to add to Mr. Adcock's report, Mr. Scares, Chairman Scares, this is not presented to you this evening for action today. We're giving you a month advance on this because it is such a big deal. We definitely want to pursue, Kim and I need to sit with Chris and talk about the financing options, which we want to bring back to the full board. If you remember back 4 years ago, we had twice as much equipment out there at the landfill. We had 2 compactors, 2 dozers, 2 pans, and we eliminated all the extra stuff. So what we were left with was some reconditioned stuff that works and no spares. We knew at that time that the compactor was on a short life. It's up to 13,500 hours. I think at that time it might have been half that. And that has is it 15,000 hours to rebuild on one of those?
That was the recommendation.
I don't remember that number, but we know it's approaching that life. This is an opportunity for us to get back into the bigger equipment that we let go of, so that the compactor that Chris is talking about is a bigger compactor in the size of the one we formerly sold off. Another thing that we may bring you is the staging of these purchases. We think we should go ahead with the compactor now in this fiscal year, and I like some of these financing terms, and then hold off on the D7 in the next fiscal year. So just know we're still in the thought process of how to pay for these things, but we wanted you to have at least a month's eyesight and input on this before it's brought back to you for action.
Thank you.
Any questions from committee members?
I'm not committed. I want to be really clear on something for the public, Mr. Smith, and Mr. Joyce and Mr. Hicks. You weren't doing that at this time. But when we made this decision to take outside trash, we were told categorically that we could increase our volume without increasing our fixed costs based on equipment and manpower and everything. So these purchases, we knew we were going to have to make, whether we were taking outside trash or not. I know the presentation shows we're doing it a little bit because of that, but in actuality, we knew this was on the horizon regardless of whether we took this trash or not. Does that not still stand true?
Absolutely. All of these things would have been purchased regardless. We are accelerating the schedule of that because we don't want to wear everything out now. We want to go ahead and have the spare and get us back to where we were 5 years ago. Even though 5 years ago most of the stuff didn't work, we still need to get back up to the same level of equipment on site that we used to have.
Which was part of the plan before we accepted 1 extra pound of trash. Is that not correct?
Yes, sir.
I want to be really clear. We got media here, and this has been a hot topic. I want to be really clear on that matter. This purchase was going to have to occur whether we did that or not.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The second question I have, Mr. Chairman, if I may, is we're looking at repurposed equipment. And if I remember correctly, that carried a similar warranty as if we were purchasing brand new equipment, because we made the decision, Mr. Hicks, I think he brought it to us, to purchase repurposed equipment. Has that worked out as we anticipate? Are we happy with that decision that we made about a year ago?
Yes, sir, I think we've been well pleased with that process. And Ronald made an answer, he operates it every day. We've kept them running.
Has that been satisfactory, Mr. Shields, for your folks out there?
Yeah, I think, for all practical purposes, it's the way to go. I mean, they strip it down, you just start with metal, and they build it from the floor up, and you're getting essentially a new piece of equipment for, a third less of the cost. And absolutely, I think that's the way to go. We've been very pleased with the two purchases in the last couple of years that we've got.
Thank you. Mr. Hancock, I just want to be specific with the citizens that we're trying to be fiscally responsible and good stewards of taxpayers' dollars. That's why I asked those questions. Appreciate the presentation. Certainly, thank you.
Thank you for that clarity, Mr. Warren. Stinker.
Mr. Shields, let me ask you, do you have a specific vendor in mind that you want to buy these from, or is this something that you can shop around for? And maybe, as Mr. Warren said, be a better steward, find same stuff, cheaper price.
We've been dealing with Caterpillar in the past. All the equipment we have out there is Caterpillar.
Okay.
They have a service contract with us, and they service all of our equipment, do any repairs, and they're excellent. They're costly, but you get what you pay for. I mean, they're a Cat dealer. They put Cat parts on it, Cat filters, service it with Cat. One of the best things that we've done at the landfill is have a regular service program, a PM program. And I've got all the equipment on computers now, so they just pull it up, and they know when they're going to do the PM. They'll call me and say PM is due, preventive maintenance, change oil, filters, whatever. And they do that on the weekends for us. They have techs that come out on the weekend. And I can't really say enough about them. I'm on the phone with, there's nothing worse on equipment than landfill other than coal mine. So, it's an ongoing preventive maintenance and maintenance things. Caterpillar, and then dealing with them, buying the equipment from them, and they on contract for service work, it's just a win-win for us. It really is.
Do you purchase directly from Caterpillar, or do you go to a local retailer?
With Carter Cat, they have a franchise for this region.
Okay.
They don't come into each other's territory, so that's who we've been dealing with. We recently bought the D6 and then the pan, and like Mr. Smith, when he came, can I just interject something? When he came here, he called me one day, he said, "Ron, I want to ride around the landfill." And so he came out and got in my old truck, and we rode around, and I just saw it like light up. He said, "This is a tremendous asset." He said, "Do you realize what an asset this is? You remember we rode around all the property?" And I could
I think you
tell.
were talking about hunting deer that day.
Yeah. Yes, I was, I'm sure. I could see his wheels turning. And that began the process that we've come to now. It's come to fruition about us generating revenue out of the landfill, out of the asset that we have. And through a lot of permitting and processes, and Butch coming on board, and Lavella, that's been a great thing. I called Tommy Stump when they said Butch Joyce was coming, Tommy runs First Piedmont. I said, who is Bush Joyce and what does he know? He said, Ronald, you gonna fall in love with him. You gonna be glad to see him come to the gate. And I said, well, I don't know if I need to lock the gate or let him in. But Butch and I have, they came on board in 18. We developed, he's a great relationship. He's a great friend, but he has steered us in a direction that we needed to go. And working with him, we've gotten in a good place where I feel like, this is what I feel like. If a general tells a captain, being me, you the general, to take that hill, he's gonna ask him, what do you need to take that hill? I need this equipment to take that hill, and I have no problem taking it to get it. Thank you.
All right, any other questions, comments? All right, I'll entertain a motion, please.
No action. Really no action. We'll bring it back to you in December. It's in.
Well, I tell you what, he got it in there, we'll bring it up for next month, so.
Do you want to automatically have a finance committee next month? Or we can forward a recommendation that pending appropriate financial plan by
See
county
some other
administration.
items that need to be addressed, I prefer to get it done.
Well, if you, then maybe a recommendation contingent upon appropriate financial model presented by Kim and I.
And I like the staggering idea too.
Me too.
So, we have that motion?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Ingram, do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Please vote when you can, please. Motion passes. Let's move on to the health department. Wes.
We received a letter from the health department, and it's similar to the letter that you got in FY20. What they're asking for this year is to retain funds in their coffers that were unmatched by the state, which means that they requested too much local money from Pittsylvania County that was not matched by the state. And if you'll remember last year, they said that if they were to retain those funds, they would use them to give approximately 130 citizens, basically the shingles vaccine. And so they're asking for that same request this year. The total is $39,156 of unmatched local funding that they would like to utilize for the Chatham Health Department specifically to give approximately 130 people those shingles vaccines. And it's basically the same letter. So I did promise Mr. Peters, he's the gentleman that came last year, that I would bring it up to you all and I would let him know of y'all's decision tonight, after tonight's meeting.
Do you have any action on this from the committee?
May I ask a question? Why was this denied last year?
I can answer for me.
Please.
I've been here a little while. It has been a repetitive thing. If the state didn't see the need for it and wasn't going to do the matching, you know, too many times they're dumping it on us in the locality, and this was an opportunity. And I think too, it's become a norm that just because there's some funds left over in the budget, they automatically think they're going to come back and hold it back. And you know, that's not how we're going to benefit from a county standpoint financial. I don't know how the committee will decide. I know when it gets to the board, I'll be voting against it. Tonight, or whatever you're going to say.
That was one question. How did they come up with 130 people? If that was a precise number or just a swag, I guess.
Yeah, I did the math, that's $300 per person. I don't know if that's the standard rate for the vaccine or not.
That's it.
I think it is.
That is. Is that a fair rate?
It's what my wife
Fair,
paid.
I don't know what I gotta pay, if I go get it, and I've got it right now. So, got it right now. But I'm not in favor of it, not this year either, because, not because what Mr. Warren said either. It's always coming back to us, and we're having to foot the bill. And you got, and if I'm not correct, with it's state and federal dollars that are involved in this. And then now, as I said, I'm not for it. I'm not for it this year either. So I'm just voicing my opinion now.
Do we have any action by the committee, any other comments? Seeing none, we'll move on. Do we have time to do the closed session, or?
We're gonna do it in open session, yeah, we can.
Yeah, and if you all can vote to deny that, that would be most.
That would be best. If we could get it.
And that way I can tell them that you all officially denied it, that would be good.
Well, I will entertain that motion.
Well, I'm making the motion, since I brought it up, to deny it.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Please vote when you can. Pass 4-4.
Yeah, one thing though, Mr. Chairman. That wouldn't necessarily be a precedence every year though.
No, they can bring it back again next year.
I know that, but I'm just saying as far as particular voting record at this particular time, there are other extenuating circumstances that can come into play that would cause us to commit to that particular dollar value. I'm just saying. But just anyway, I just want to make sure that is established, because that's still up, naturally it's up to the board, but I'm just asking. There may be times in the future where we'll have to change that, we'll have to commit to it anyway, so. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, we're gonna do this one in open session. I think we can probably get it done. Chris, do you want to lead discussion on this with David?
I can present it, and then Mr. Woodall with the Life-Saving Crew is here and can answer any questions. But, and I'll be very rough about this because I don't have the details, but as an overview, the crew is not able to spend our $175,000 that we appropriated for CARES Act money on the equipment that goes on the tower, transmitters, receivers, whatever, in time to meet our December 30th deadline. They still are committed to putting that equipment on the tower, but instead would like to use our 175 to buy radios that they can take delivery of and pay for now, and then defer our equipment or the equipment that we authorize to pay for until a later date due to, I assume, COVID circumstances. They're not able to purchase and install that equipment on our timeline. So they're asking for an adjustment to our conditions of the use of that CARES Act money, and I'll let Robbie take it from there. How about that?
Thank y'all for taking time to meet with us today. Yeah, I was called yesterday by Chris to come try to explain this. This is the first I heard about it, the change what we're doing. I thought everybody was on the same page about the project, and what we were looking at is replacing a 20-year-old system that we had. As you know, we answered calls on the Ferry Road areas, the county. We covered part of Mountain Cross Road. We covered mutual aid in the whole county for different aspects. Just last weekend, our drone team was out with the sheriff's people out on 41 looking for lost short. So communication is the spearhead of what we need to be able to communicate. The city has one system, the county has one system, the crew's got one system. And when you get on the scene, you have multi-jurisdictional response, nobody can talk to anybody. So what we're trying to do is create a sense of common bond. The city system won't support the infrastructure to bring us on at a level. If we went to talking to the county, we want to get to say, well, instead of having 3 radios in the truck, because he worked on the sheriff's call for years, you got all those radios in the car, which one you pick up and talk on? So we have a crew radio, we already have a county radio because we answer those calls. We get out on the scene now in the county district, their policy is they call every 10 minutes checking on you. Of course, our people don't have walkie-talkies now because they're not provided with the system we have now. We've got mobile radio, we have a couple of them in every truck. So that was a dysfunctional there. The interoperability part we're working on with the committee, we actually hired the best guy in the world. Y'all trained Jeff Davis to be our consultant. And over the last 8-10 months, we've been working on this project. So looking at the situation with the Kenwood provider out of Barnesville, the Motorola people, we've been with it like since I started in crew 33 years ago next month. It's been a staple in our area. we had a presentation and, with the Harris people, and we said, this is a really good company, we feel like it's a good vendor. And we think that it gives some common, the P25 accessibility, which is, the government standard to be accessible to all agencies responding. This system, so we felt like it was a good fit to us. So we met with David, I think Bob was there, Ron, the other people that we talked about it, so this would be a good fit. We went to the city said, well, we can't give you any money for a system that we don't own. I'm not in politics of it, I run a business, that's what I do. And I run the crew for free. So this is something we said that the county said they partnered with, we did. So this is reallocated funds. We actually went over our budget amount we had in our budget, about a little $101,000, $2,000, and then reallocated spend more. Of course, it is the same way on, if you ordered anything, you know, I've got 6 new car franchises, I got people, I delivered a truck this morning to a guy that lives in the county, I ordered from in May, just came in. So you know, get stuff now, it's not just off the shelf. So the two-way radios that are made in Lynchburg, Virginia, after Jimmy got to digging into it for us, the portables, of course, they mass produce those. They got tons of them sitting up there. They got mobile radios sitting up there. So to get the amount of money we need to spend to use the 175, he said you can get them yourself, and we can have delivered to you in December, which means warranty. I was talking about earlier with the system. I'm a warranty guy, and that's all I do for a living. He said, well, the warranty don't start until you turn your button on and everything goes on. We don't deliver any batteries. So I said, well, that's not a bad thing for us. So what they've agreed to do is bring us a pallet of radios to equal that amount. We're going to put them up in our building anyway, but we got to keep them somewhere. And they won't be turned on until the system comes. So yeah, it's a big thing to us. We've got a system now that causes us a lot of problems in experience, and it's not successful. The county system is an excellent system. I've done a lot of research on it. As even talking about the functionality and the public safety grade. That's the problem with city systems. They don't have public safety grade microwaves. And that's something that's in that service contract you're doing. I've done a little research on that too, Mr. Warren. That's a big thing, that's microwave. If that microwave not working, you can't talk. In a lot of the areas. So you got to be careful. And that's a concern to me. If the county's not going to support the maintenance contract, maybe we better make a decision, because the maintenance is a big thing. The maintenance on anything you buy, like you're talking about, still talking about the equipment, those capital equipments. Could you imagine if you got a deputy or EMS responder somewhere and you couldn't go because the maintenance is not done? That's a big thing. So we've agreed our budget that we brought to them originally, we said the county would own the system. What we'd do, we'd give the system to the county. We have a brand new tower we had installed about 2 years ago due to an accident. It fell down and the wind blew it over. It was a bad guided and stuff. So we invested about $125,000–$130,000 on a new tower. And we've got a room generator. We're getting ready to replace that generator next year. Within the next 18 months, our capital improvement budget will have a next generation generator, 20 years old, this time cycling out. So we've got that. We've got the county, the fiber that will be directly connected to White Oak Mountain. So you'll have a seamless coverage between White Oak. It's 11. This will be the 11th site. What I understand, Jimmy can tell you more than I can tell you. But the 11th site, so you got 3. If you go up 29 corridor, you'll have the Life Saving Group building, the White Oak building. You have one in Alta Vista,
Garden School Road and
Hurt. So you'll have those connected by fiber. Worst case scenario, we have another Hurricane Michael, something comes through and everything locks down. You'll still have a backbone of communication with those centralized towers that are lined up with fiber. So, you know, we've done a little research with Jimmy. He's educated me a lot more than I started with. I'm so glad we paid him to be our consultant, because I had to quit work for the last 9 days to get this done. All right. So we feel good about the project. We feel good about the partnership. We intend on working with the county more and more. Chris has been a good asset to work with him on the public safety side. We have a lot of resources available. You know, our call volume by the numbers I've seen, we'll run twice as many calls in the city as the county runs totally annually. So we're pretty redundant to backup in the city. We have 3 to 4 full-time paramedics working 24 hours a day on a couple of them, possibly a couple of ambulances. They come out in the county and assist. We have a heavy rescue operator truck. Of course, I not to mention our diving rescue, because the last big water event we had was over here off Spring Garden Road back in the late summer when COVID started. Actually, was one of my 20-year plus employees that ran one of the guys around. And I was listening to the call on my phone at my house at Highfield Lake, listening, monitoring, talking to our people. If we hadn't had interoperability, because I've got one of those apps, the county gives us 2, one for each chief officer. I'll be able to talk to them, communicate with them. But you couldn't even get a cell phone service down unless you walked up the hill about 3/4 of a mile till you talked on a cell phone. So the communication was imperative at that point in that call. And be able to talk to the incoming deputies on the scene, county responders there, and our people coming. We have, 150 people, about 100 volunteers, about 50 staff members. They come from every aspect, direction, people on call. So they're just not sitting at a place ready to go. They're like everybody else spread out. So that's something. But I can answer your questions if I didn't give you enough detail about it. We're planning on doing so.
Any questions from committee members?
I'm going to make some comments since I attended the meeting that
Rob, I was going to ask you, now, will this allow everybody to be able to communicate?
But what it'll do is it'll allow that everybody in Pittsylvania County, and the lifesaver crew, and within the backbone of the system, Chris is working on it. I didn't go to the last meeting, Jimmy went and represented us. They're gonna put a link between the city and the county. They had that at one time and they turned it off. But now they're putting it back, if I'm mistaken, is that right, Chris? They can turn it back on. So at some point, in the very near future, part of this whole other project, you'll be able to flip a button on the radio and go to an instant channel, and everybody will be able to talk, even the state police, the sheriff, get state police officers in this district, county radio, so they can talk. So if we had a mass incident, the worst thing can happen that we talk about a lot, and we don't talk about that publicly. We do a lot of training on if it's a shooting in areas and stuff like that. It has to be, God help us, a school shooting or something like that we have to be all responding to. And we actually have a group of people who works with our training center that are training people on that, on response and working with the law enforcement. So we know what to do because, we've got to be able to treat law enforcement if something happens in a building. So communication, just say if something happened when the county school, we would definitely be first to call or to come out and help them. So we need to communicate front line. Our supervisors, talking with the deputy supervisors, and Mike Phillips, he's got to respond to this, make sure that everybody's on one page. The way it is now, that's not the same.
Would the state police be able to be part of the system?
We can communicate with the state. Now, we gave those guys portable radios.
Right.
And they have them in their cars. So we can communicate with those guys that are working on shift.
I just have a couple of comments. When we attended the meeting, Mr. Sears and I, and Mr. Smith, and Mr. Swan, we were told in that meeting that Harris had said they could have this completed and on the tower and be done by December 31st. One question I have for you, Robbie, is what changed that, and what is the date that you and Daniel Lifesaving Crew is willing to commit as a drop dead date that equipment will be on that tower? Are you willing to give us our $175,000 back? Because I'm still really disappointed in our city elected officials not willing to be a part of this when it benefits the entire region. And that is a political issue, but I'm still extremely disappointed in them that they've turned a blind eye to this and turned a blind eye to the safety of the region, in particular where a school shooting or something should occur that was referenced by our sheriff. Can you answer those questions?
Yeah, talking about the city, we went to them, we had a meeting with the city manager.
No, I'm not talking about you telling me about the city.
Yeah.
I want you to tell me about the dates.
The date, well, we met the first time, was it late September, Jim? Is that right?
I can address it.
He can address it to you, but when we met.
I want a commitment from the Lifesaving.
Oh, yeah, we're committed, it's just like you tell me you want a new car, I'll get you as soon as they build it. But it's up the road an hour, and as soon as they get to it, we want to turn it on. Believe me, this is an everyday problem for us.
So what?
They're telling us September of next year, and I told them that's unacceptable, so we're pushing to get it done by June. I need to get it done by June in my capital improvement budget, because I gotta have my money committed and get it out then. So they're telling you the longest date, so
when you, and this is not your problem,
Yeah.
this is a Harris problem.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned.
Oh, yeah.
When we met with you, they had led you to believe that they could get this up and going a lot faster than what I'm hearing tonight.
Right, and a lot of us do because we delayed it coming, we had delayed that day we met, then we had to go back for the supervisor. So what was it, about 30-day layover, 30 to 45 days time y'all voted in here and then voted in there. So then
But then they're telling you 9 more months after the first of the
well,
year.
they're giving us a political answer, is what they're doing. And I'm not a political guy, I'm a business guy like you. I want to know when I'm going to get it. And sometimes I have to I've been on the phone texting people all day about cars they've been waiting on, you know, they're sitting in Winston-Salem behind a doggone rail car that can't get delivered today. So I know what you're saying. We want it quick as we can get it. And we want it, I want it right now. My wife tell you, I don't go to the store to order. I'm not a guy on Amazon. I'm a guy pick up things. I can buy one now, you can buy 3 years because I go pick it up. But the thing about it is, if they can get it to us quick, we're supposed to meet with them in December. We've got a progress meeting. The first meeting we had was 2 weeks ago. So now going forward, Chris will be involved, right? Chris, Jimmy, the people from the city, everybody that touches this system going forward. We had the next meeting in December. They're going to give us some firm timelines. Jimmy thinks we can get it done by May. I say, June, but I told him we got to get it done by June because we need to move on to something else. We've got, like you, we're held by our budget. I got things coming for next year I need to get done that I can't get done because I got this money allocated. We already had held this year up that North Side Station edition. You talking about the construction technology station gets held up because of the doggone code and that's can't be done.
So is, back to the second question, Robbie, and I appreciate your service. And for full disclosure, Robbie and I are good friends, so. Is the life-saving crew or Harris willing to give a drop-dead date to say, we don't have it up on these towers, because it's no good to us as a county and to our sheriff's department if it's not up. A bunch of radios sitting in a room aren't going to benefit us. That's not why we put the $175,000.
Well, just full disclosure, the contract was $672, Jim. Yeah, come on.
Can I go address that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but wait a minute,
You know, my colleague who's chairman.
I signed 600, I think 672, Jim, is that right? 692. I signed it for the authorization I board to do it. That's not the first time. I've signed a note for $1 million to go to our training center. The person signed to guarantee that I'd get it paid back. And then we did in 18 months. So yeah, I'm well committed to it.
Well, your word's good with me. That's why I'm asking.
But the people at Harris you deal with the engineers and specs and stuff, who knows? Bob, if in March we get a new administration in here in January 20th, they lock the country down 6 weeks, you can't get a part from Taiwanese, it's got to come in here. How am I going to tell you I can have it? I can't do that.
Well,
I'm going to
that you will push 100% as Robert.
I can tell you right now, this is a daily problem that I get a call on from my frontline people. I still have 33 years of these run calls in the field on a monthly basis. I'm on an ambulance, I'm out there in the field. So I had a call a few weeks ago, I was on a motor vehicle wreck myself. And if I hadn't been a calm and cool person, I'd have threw that radio across the road because I was sitting there with somebody pinned in the car and I couldn't talk to our people coming in. And it was very irritating that you cannot communicate. And we went to our board of directors and I'm on the board as well. Sheriff Taylor's on our board of disclosure. He's on our board of directors too. We made this decision as we do anything, to buy apparatus, equipment. Every year we buy at least one ambulance, sometimes two. Spend $300,000 to $500,000 on that. We need heart monitor. We got a lot of things that we keep on abreast of what's going on. We have to have that in the public safety business. But you're right. I want to maybe in negotiation with y'all's new contract, you're going to try to get them to lower the price on for your systems. Maybe that's a negotiating factor too. We all can put pressure on. Now what we've committed for is Ms. Smithland wanted us to we agreed to take care of the maintenance on it. It's $18,000 annually to do the maintenance. In our budget, and Sheriff was at the meeting last night, our budget this year, we allocate $18,400 as our budgetary item for maintenance of our radio system now, and we don't have a contract. We know that's what it costs us every year to operate it because our system's so out of date. We don't have it's going to cost this much to it. So the $18,000, I just take it from paying Motorola to paying Harris starting next year, and we know it's going to increase because we got to have the maintenance on our system. And to keep it going because when it gets breaks, I'm like you, I don't want it to be broke, I want it fixed. That's why we wanted that system to be redundant. And the reason we wanted to partner with either entity, we didn't want to have 3 different radios in the hand. Goodness gracious, took all the stuff around the scene, you get to the scene, it's cumbersome enough as it is.
Mr. Davis had a comment.
Thank you, Mr.
Now, this is all Mr. Davis.
Well, let him go first. Go ahead.
Yeah, because I need to talk to this car salesman right here.
Gotcha.
Good job. Appreciate your service, all seriousness. I just need to connect the dots because this thing is shifting on me. The thing is Danville, they have not contributed. Is that correct?
What Danville did to buffer us on the communication end. Their system wasn't able to support the full network that we needed to answer 50 calls a day. So what they did is they took CARES Act funding, and they're giving us a radio for all of our trucks like the county did initially. So if we get to a fire scene, and we get to a multi-agency situation, we need to communicate, and we need to get on their system, we'll be able to communicate with their law enforcement or their public works,
Okay,
whatever.
that's what I was gonna ask, is Danville receiving coverage right now? Let's just say without the county. I mean, are you guys all on the same page in Danville, as far as Danville's coverage of the radio?
We have
Now,
we have
people that are having the problems are the people in the county. Is that correct? Danville's is okay, I mean, as far as their radio tactics are concerned? Radio
The city of
operation?
Danville, the lifesavers.
Your lifesaver crew, either way.
Our system is.
I'm trying to connect the dots.
Our system is a 20-year-old system that we piecemealed over the last year. When it went to the digital banding about 6 or 8 years ago, we had to make some infrastructure changes. And by doing that, White Oak Mountain, let's say one thing on White Oak Mountain, there's a tower, if I understand, Jimmy can tell you, from here to the front door, there's a fiber cable on the ground, right, Jimmy? Yes. And we had that connectivity, which we're gonna have now. It will connect to our tower, that we have fiber on it, the life center building. So part of this deal, we're gonna pay to have that tower hooked up, so we have that connectivity right there. We don't have that now. Now our towers, on your tower now on White Oak Mountain, on our VHF system, it's controlled by what they call a cell phone device. They call it a Sierra device. So if anybody got a cell phone, how reliable do you feel about them? And that's what happens to our system. It goes from White Oak back to the Life Center building, back to Callahan's Hill, and it does a loop. And if something, if all these kids at home on school now, and the internet gets real busy, where you get down there, on the way over here, driving crazy.
Okay, thank you. I just want to try to keep it condensed. I appreciate it. The question is, if all the monies were there, going back to your pitch there as far as the engineers and all these guys concerned, the developers and all this stuff,
Right.
if the money was there, boom, would we not have it in place before the 30th of December?
I don't think you would.
Even if we had the money, boom, if everybody had put in what they're supposed to put in or contributed?
We've got our money, y'all got y'all's money. The money's not the issue. In this case, it's availability to get it. It's availability. They have to actually manufacture this equipment.
Okay, but what I'm looking for is ASAP. That's all.
Oh, that's what I'm looking for too.
That's all I want to do. Thank you.
We've been tabling this for 2 years on our side, so I'm with you.
Yeah, I believe it. Good job, then. I appreciate what you're doing.
Kim, go ahead and get your statements in real quick before we run into.
I don't want to hold you up, I apologize, thank you. No, I went back and double checked my notes, because I take copious notes on any meeting that I have, and I went back and reviewed, and on August 13th, when we have our discussions, to talk about December was only in reflection to where I have on my notes about the CARES Act application and funding that y'all directed the sheriff to go and make an application that day. So you can have it at your CARES Act committee, and then it has to go to the finance committee, then it has to go forward to the board of supervisors. Was the steps that I was told it had to go, and I wrote all that down. And because of that, though, there's no way Harris can guarantee a date other than what they project. Because, as you know, what happened this year with the pandemic, you could not get your site up on Old Mayfield Road in Tunstall during the time when, because of the pandemic, and it shut everything down in Lynchburg. We could have that same situation again. It's not in our control. We can't help it. However, the commitment that I think, as Mr. Woodall said, is, and I have provided the county, is copies of signed contracts of the maintenance and of the purchase agreement. And that is in your hands. You have that right now, and it has also those dates. And our commitment, and with Chief Woodall, is to have your staff be present on every meeting as we go forward, so they are totally in the loop. They have copies of every calendar that will come out and what the new projections will be. They will know, because it's going to be imperative we work with STS Broadband on White Oak Mountain to go from their handhold into White Oak Shelter, which they have agreed to provide free of charge. So,
Someone have a question on the subject?
Not a question for these guys, but I would just say for me, I mean, I support this, I understand, I listen to you guys, the experts. I think for us, it's the funding time and period, right?
Well,
So I think that's an internal something we need to discuss.
Well, it's just a matter of, we're taking the funding that was originally planned for the tower equipment and we're buying radios. Because we have to
exchange.
spend the money now.
Correct, I'm good with that.
And they can't go forward with that, what we agreed to
Sure.
purchase for. So
And-
that's the whole gist of it. We want to take the guarantee for this all, that they're going to purchase this.
And the warranty's gonna stay put until it gets up and running, something like that.
Mr. Davis may have misunderstood what we were saying, but we knew from the onset with coded money, it had to be spent.
Correct.
Not
Money.
committed, not anything. So that, the fact that you were listening at our timeline or whatever, if you got confused about it, we apologize for that. The money was supposed to be spent, that was the message we got, that it would be spent, and y'all were ready to put it on the tower and do that. That is my situation now. I'm not opposed to this, I'm not opposed to purchasing radios, but I'm adamant that if our staff is not pushing as much as we possibly can to get this stuff done and up on those towers so that our deputies can be as safe as possible and our citizens, then I'm gonna have a problem with you all.
Well, I can appreciate that, being a former county employee, and I understand that public safety is number one. And I just want to let Mr. Hunt know that, we are wanting to do whatever we have to do to make sure we finalize what hasn't been done, is to form a written agreement that will be in place that would give you and the Danville Life Saving Group a tenure and relationship. So you will have something also there, not just money that you spend in a copy of a paid receipt. You'll have in writing an agreement between your board and this group. So that's something we still are looking forward to working out. And thank you.
And if you want, on that agreement, if y'all want something in that language, the agreement with the county would own that tower unit. Ultimately, that's what ought to happen, is the county ought to own the backbone equipment. Now, you can't own the tower in physical building location, just like if you lease it, we'd have a no-cost lease. Y'all could put it in agreement to own it, and then we pay a certain amount to be on the system every year. That's probably the more optimal thing, if you ask me. Because it's gonna be part of your network, and down the road, I mean, it's 6 years old, but it's projected 20-year life cycle, so it's gonna run out some. So that's probably something that I would think that ought to be negotiated.
One more question. Technology is changing so quick, and this may be a Mr. Davis question. Mr. Davis, we're gonna opt to move to purchase these radios now. We're gonna put them in a room and hopefully, absolute worst case scenario is a September deal. Of course, we live in crazy times, I understand that. Is it, I guess is my question. If we have a change in technology that would require an upgrade or something different to the radios that we're purchasing today, do we have a commitment that that upgrade will be part of the deal, that
It's
it's not going
already
to
in
be an
writing. It's
additional
already in
cost?
writing.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I make sure that it's already in writing, that they will have their software upgraded every year through a PM, just like you do right now with the county radios. Same rotation, same terms, I make sure of that.
I just didn't want that life saving crew or sheriff department to get,
And the
to
fire.
end up with obsolete equipment
Oh,
that's brand new.
you know me, that's what I told them. And luckily, they just come out with brand new shit. I think this is the same radios y'all just got this year. They just got some of these, but the county upgraded their system. This is the next generation. But the warranty don't start, but they are guaranteed for 5 years warranty. Like Ms. Smith said, that he negotiated that for Jimmy deal. Normally it's 3, but we got a 5-year warranty on the day we turn the system on, not the day we turn them on. So I want to get it going, so. Any more questions?
Any other questions from board members and committee members?
All right,
We need to ask.
Thank y'all for your time today.
Thank you, Rob.
Should we adjourn now? Are we going into closed session to discuss?
No, we're ready to adjourn the file.
Okay. All right, I'll adjourn.